Good afternoon, respected ma'am, and everyone present over here. I am Nabagata Shaha, representing HITian Inside. I humbly welcome you in this interactive book reading session. Ma'am, could you kindly tell us about this book and what aspects it holds?
Well, this book is on or about love. And when we say love, it is not just this extraordinary engagement of heroes and heroines and extraordinary romances, but we have chosen to look at stories that people live every day. So this is completely a love story that talks about different aspects of love. It could be love between a mother and a daughter. It could be self-love. It could be finding a closure to a past story and moving forward. It also talks about love between two individuals, irrespective of their sexual orientation. So, our focus is completely on love. Love is, after all, what it is. And I would rather say my friend, my co-editor, Jahnavi, and I, both of us are great fans of John Lennon. And I think that idea came from John Lennon's song, Love, the song. There's this very famous song called Love. And it comes out, the lyrics is like, love is love. Love is you and me, right? So it stemmed out from that thought. So love is love. It doesn't have to be encased in a certain boundary of gender binary or age or certain kind of format for love. Love is love. It is very difficult to put in a format, and that is what I have mentioned in the introductory part of this book.
Ma'am, could you give a brief introduction of the book, or if you could read the introduction, it would be very...
Oh, with pleasure, I will do that. Thank you so much. So, I'd like to read this introduction, and I'm very sure this is going to give you a pretty fair idea of this entire book, what this book is all about. I begin with a question. How does one define love? Is there any single definition for it? Defining love is a taxing task, as it is an individual's experience of intense emotions of joy and peace, of passion and lust, of loss and longing. Poets and writers, since time immemorial, have tried to draw their definitions of love in their works, and each definition reflects different shades of love. When someone writes about love, she writes about the moments, ordinary or intense, that had molded her course of life. And each individual experience unfolds a new truth about life that was hitherto unexplored. I'll unskip a few one and then I'll go to next. And I believe this will give you another picture about it. Love sometimes sits comfortably in the easy, slow-paced, and usual humdrum of our ordinary lives, just like a cat sleeping comfortably in the windowsill on a sunny spring morning. It pops out of the packets of suppositories, blood thinners, antacids, and bland oil-free food that we offer to our loved ones. It settles and takes its place in between two lonely souls waiting for their journey's end. Sometimes it enters and occupies the remote recesses of our mind in the form of memories that uncannily surface when they are least expected. Love is intimately associated with memories and loss. No matter how hard we hold it fast in our grip, we are to let go of it when the time comes. Just the way it enters our lives uninvited, it departs on its own accord. Sometimes even memories become difficult to recall, and when we do, it turns out to be some dreamlike reality. Memories and memorabilia come together, often to rekindle stories that were once locked inside the safe spaces of our hearts. The sensual stimulants, familiar scents, sights, sounds, and flavors lead back to certain locations long abandoned. This moving backward in time tells us about another form of love, a love of location called home and homeland. What is home then? Is it a concrete structure made of beams and bricks? Or is it the people, books, old photographs, and stolen moments that make a home home? Sometimes living together with the loved ones appears insufficient. There's always a better place somewhere else, and hence we strive to find that space. A space far away from the prying eyes, where there is no judgment, where there is acceptance, respect for choices that one makes, and a place made of compassion. Is there really a place as such? A place that offers limitless opportunities in bringing people together. And I ended this introduction with, there are some relationships that go beyond the definitions of right and wrong, relationships that cannot be bracketed, but they make a lot of sense to our existence. There is hurt, there is hope in an otherwise negative scope, but there is happiness in that short span of time. Love sometimes stands tall and provide reasons to hang on while we hold on to the so-called right relationship, which is nonetheless a relationship of compromise, congestion, and a gradual ebbing away of spirit from the body. This anthology is an attempt to see love in its different shades and understand how it works. Although it is almost impossible to put the idea of love in a format, we hope this book will help to bring closure to some unanswered questions that had long been meandering in some remote recesses of our mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We congratulate you on this victorious journey of your own creation. Now I shall welcome everyone from the audience to ask ma'am about any questions they have about her book.
Hello, ma'am. This is Dipanita.
Hi.
My first question to you is, what initially attracted you to this particular manuscript or project?
Well, so this project, like I said at the beginning, that it came out of our daily conversation with this friend of mine, this co-editor. She herself is a poet and a writer based in Canada, and as we were talking, and suddenly we were also discussing John Lennon, and quite recently, just a year back, she just published her poetry collection. So as we were talking about poetries and songs and Lennon, everything, then we said, why don't we do something on love? And we approached many people, and some of them were sort of apprehensive about it. I'm going to talk about this, this hero-heroine romances, and which is pretty popular. Then we said that no, love is beyond all this romances. Love is everywhere. Without love, can we really exist? And when we talk about love, it is not just about the romance between two people. Love comes out from sheer respect for the other person's existence. That is the beginning where love comes from. So as we were talking about it, and then said, yes, let us do something. Let us write about love, but a love that is very ordinary, that talks about the ordinary humdrum life of every individual. And that is why in the introduction we have very specifically mentioned that love comes out from the bland, oil-free food, and where even in that case for students, when your parents scold you, that is not because they hate you. It comes out of love, a sense of protection. So that's how it.
Ma'am, how would you describe the overall editing process of this book?
Oh, well, to be frank, actually the publisher, Grand Guwahati Poetry Festival, is pretty much a reputed publishing house in the Northeast, especially in Assam. And I'm from Assam, and we had a talk with the publisher, Mr. Mandit Sharma, and as we were moving on with the editing, and I said, okay, let us do the editing part ourselves. So Janavi and I, both of us, we took the editing and the proofreading part, and the designing part was completely done by him and his team of people. So that is how we worked. And of course, it was a enjoyable task, but at the same time, quite taxing at the same time. And that is how.
Ma'am, can you share any memorable moments or insight from the editing process that stand out to you?
Okay, you know what? When you're an editor, you have to shiver away any form of natal connection of relationships in terms of blood relationships, familial relationships, or natal connection of friends. Because, when the work is not good, you have to be very, very impersonal and say this work is not good. So that was a huge challenge because some of them were pretty reputed writers, and like I and my co-editor sometimes, my way of looking at certain style of writing is different, and hers is completely different. So those were the issue area where we had a lot of argument at times. Literally, we used to argue a lot, but then thankfully we did come back to the same table and work on it. So that way it became easier. But those were really difficult times because her way of approach of work is completely different from mine. And another thing, another challenge was that we had to, fix up a particular time of the day to talk because our time zones are completely different. Now it is like morning in Canada, and we had to fix up a particular time that, okay, here we can talk. I mean, thanks to WhatsApp that we could talk anytime. But then not anytime always. It had to be either in the evening part, and for her that is morning, quite morning. So that is how. Those were challenges, yeah.
Ma'am, so what advice would you give the aspiring authors who are seeking an editor for their own book projects?
Okay, you want to be editors. Okay, if you want to be editors, like, I'll now change my garb into my old self as a teacher. So editing is, very interesting. It is quite egoistic also at times. You are judging others' work, right? You're judging others' work, and you don't know who that person is, but you're judging the text. So that way you are at an elevated space, and you're kind of looking at others' work, and there is one there. So I think if you really want to do editing, first and foremost, learn the basics, learn the language, and especially adjectives. Have a very good collection of adjectives. Punctuation is very important. And have good knowledge of grammar, because when you have good knowledge of grammar, especially the types of sentences that is used along with the tense, then it becomes easier for you to put up the correct punctuation marks. So these are the basic things for editing. And yes, one has to be very focused and patient. Sometimes, there are times where you really don't feel like doing anything, you are irritated. And, while I was like editing this particular book, one thought often, come to my mind was like, I had this tendency of judging the text. I think we should avoid doing that. I mean, we should, abstain ourselves from judging any text. We should be impersonal. You should understand the text, what the author is trying to say, and then, focus on the work, how to make it better.
How did you work with the author to ensure their vision was maintained while also improving the overall quality of the book?
That is what I was trying to tell, yeah. One thing I must tell you is that, I and Jahnavi, both of us were very lucky, fortunate to have such contributors who are very approachable. Whenever we have shot an email, and mind you, this writers, they do not stay here in Calcutta. One person is in Calcutta, and the rest is like few of them are in Guwahati. The one or two from Canada, few from Mumbai. So it was a pan India thing, and a few from Canada as well. So it was like And I stay in Haldia, completely remote, space. So it was really difficult for us to meet. So, whenever we have shot an email to them mentioning the requirements, what they need to do, and they were available. They listened to our, suggestions. And that was very easy for us, It is, and one lesson that I've understood is it's important to be accessible and approachable. That makes life way too easier.
So, ma'am, that was all the questions from my part. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I am Archish Kundu from Team HITian Inside.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I had some doubts about love. I want to clarify it.
Oh my God. It's better to be in doubts,
So, ma'am, is suffering a part of being in love and longing for it?
I remember Mirza Ghalib's share, if I may be permitted, I'd like to say that. दिल ही तो है न संगो खेश, दर्द से भरना आए क्यों, रोएंगे हम हजार बार, कोई हमें सताए क्यों. So, sango khest is like brick and sand. Your heart is not made of brick and sand. Your heart is very flesh and blood. It's a part of you. It's a part of the consciousness. So, I think living, loving, and being conscious about the world, it also gives a sense of pain, right? And it's because of this pain that you enjoy, and you enjoy this beauty of life, and that also gives you happiness. So both of them are together. Without pain, I think your love story will be pretty boring. Because see, there'll always be a sense of, wanting more from the one that you love. We become quite greedy at times. But very, very strange part about this sense of our being is that sometimes we are also very sure of letting go of. Though, so this paradox is very much there when it comes to that.
Ma'am, and secondly, what is one life-changing thing that we can get after reading this book? Like one perspective or thought.
See, it'll be very difficult on my part to predict, how something is going to change your perspective. But then, yes, we have tried to sort of, bring into light certain aspects of life, very different aspects of love. Okay. And one thing we have also focused is that, closure is very important, finishing the unfinished story. So that is what we have focused. And this story is, this particular story, it is full of humor, pain, pathos is very much there, philosophical also. And yeah, it talks about closure and also about acceptance, the very difficult thing. Sometimes, love also teaches us to accept. There's this sense of pain. But at the same time, it also gives you a perspective that, life cannot always go in a linear path, or it's not straight-jacketed. There's varieties, And it's our consciousness, I'd rather say, our mind. I mean, can we really map our mind? Can we measure the length, breadth, and distance of our mind? We can't. So that is what our sense is all about. We cannot, and it comes at any time. You will not realize when love happened to you, and one fine day you're like, oh, struggle, what happened? I'm in love.
It's not calculated.
It's not at all calculated. No matter how smart, how astute you are, when you are in love, you are in love. And there's no right or wrong time to be in love. It happens. And you can't do anything about it. And it will leave you when it has to leave you. And you can't do anything about it. Money can buy you love. Understand that. So artist gallery can make things. Nowadays there's no artist galleries anyway. It was during our time when we were in college, and there used to be artist galleries, wonderful, postcards and greeting cards. But in your case, it's like smileys and beautiful Insta post emojis, right? So those can bring happiness for a while, but
it's not lasting.
It is. So that is how it is.
And lastly, one thing I would ask, how can this book help us to inculcate in ourselves the meaning of loss in the pursuit of love?
Yeah. this is something that, yes, yeah. There's this writer, Partha Praval's story, The Gift, and Jahnavi's Home, right? Jahnavi's story, Home. This stories that talk about love, but the perspectives are quite different. In one part, you can see loss. Loss. Sometimes, you need a closure to that loss. Sometimes suddenly you lose something, but then you don't know why that had happened. Right? You need a closure to that. So it talks about that. Once you get the closure, you get a perspective of what. The point here is that the reason is very important. ये क्या हुआ कैसे हुआ का बहुत जरूरी है. When something happens, you have to know why. Once you get the reason, then it becomes easier for you to sort of, accept the reality about your life. And another part of loss is also memories can also be very pleasant, right? Memories can be pleasant, and of course you can begin life anew with that beautiful memories of him. It's not necessary that all beautiful love stories should end in a beautiful note. Sometimes, it is just workings, not machination, but it is just workings of life and requirements you don't know.
Path memories do teach you things.
Of course it does. Every interaction, whether, like, whenever you meet someone, or especially the person who you really love, when you meet that person, when they, they bring something to your life. Whether they remain with you or not, like, that's a different matter, but they bring something to your life, a new perspective to your life. So that is how it is going to income. And this book, with its stories, will also help you to look at the different perspective of love. And you can also, by reading the stories, maybe you will also find some answers to your own questions.
I surely will.
Absolutely, with love or with or life, and and I look at love as a part of life and life as love. Both of them are like very strongly, intimately connected to one another.
Life without love is void.
Absolutely, and can we really have love or life without love? I mean, life itself is a manifestation of love.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Rinmoy from HITian Inside.
Hi, Mrinmoy. Thank you.
You just talked about loss, and there are times when we don't understand why a person leaves us. We don't understand that. So, pertaining to that, I want to ask you, how does this book enlighten us to inculcate in ourselves the meaning of loss in pursuit of love?
Yeah, I did it just a while ago. This one gentleman asked me, but then that is what. Let me just tell you, there are certain stories that talk about closures, right? See, you run after, you go for a particular, no. Let me put it this way: your quest continues till the time you reach an answer, right? So when you lose someone and you really don't know why that person has left you, right? It will be very difficult for you to move on, right? This question will always linger in your mind. I mean, why? What happened? And so you need a closure. So I would suggest that we should try to find it out, in certain ways. So I would rather say that, connect with the person, and if it is impossible, let time heal. But then definitely, and I'm telling you, the mystery about life is that, it gives you ample opportunities to get back to certain areas that has got you dumbfounded, and you might get your answers. And this book, there are certain stories that talk about closure, that talks about acceptance, and that you will get, definitely. That will help you.
We have another question for you. Often we come to know that suppressing our own feelings help. But in the long run, it tends to build up something dangerous in ourselves. So do you agree with this?
Absolutely. do not suppress. You have many ways to express yourself. Poems, listening to songs, talking. But it is absolutely important for you to express yourself, express your feeling. Suppression doesn't help you, because it's like you're forcefully forcefully suppressing something, dominating something, not letting it out, which is a very natural process of thing. And it comes out, when it comes out in such a way that can spoil rather than make up things. And I also believe in one thing, apprehension is dangerous than the reality. Right? You stop yourself, you hesitate yourself. Let me give you a very simple example. You might like someone a lot. You don't know that person, and you are so hesitant to approach. And you see that that person is already engaged to someone now. You have waited way too long, and you begin to, question yourself, why did I do that? Right. So it's better to approach whatever it is. Suppressing will never help. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all from my side.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Oindrita Sengupta from Team HITian Inside. So we have received many valuable opinions from your side. Another question from my side is that from the cover of the book, which is very attractive, and obviously, yes, ma'am, from the cover we can see that tales of love, longing and loss. So my question is that we can easily, in many relatable situations of our life, we can relate between love and loss. But what is the basic difference between love and longing?
Synonymous, I would say. When you love someone or something, when you are in love, there is a very strong sense of longing for your love interest. So, this sense of longing actually will help you in achieving things that you otherwise may not try to achieve. So it's love. Love is that force that makes you think, that make you conduct yourself in ways which you might otherwise never do that. Never conduct in that way.
Thank you.
But that is it.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Kasturi Das from HITian Inside.
Okay.
Ma'am, my first question will be, since this book consists of a lot of short stories and scripts of love, which characters or which stories touched you the most, and which one do you relate to?
That's a little difficult, because all of them, each one of them is wonderful, amazing in its own right. When you read this book, I'll tell you, even you'll have this difficulty to judge which one is the better. All of them are good. And I must tell you that, each of these stories, they catch certain aspect of love. So each one of them is good.
Ma'am, another question is, according to you, which one is the most beautiful? The memories after the loss, or longing to get that person back?
All right. No, there cannot be either or between the two. Memories after the loss is also very beautiful. Painful, but beautiful at the same time. Certain memories, when those things happened, right, at that time you might have cried a lot, but now when you look at it, oh, how silly it was, and you laugh it off. And certain memories where you have really laughed out loud, and now when you think about it, your eyes well up, right? So that is what about it. And about, again, longing, right? You were talking about longing for the love. That's the one that makes your journey all the most wonderful. So I cannot choose between the two. Both of them are very important. Both of them are very important in their own right. Memories, and at the same time, longing. And this longing, it's important to long sometimes. Sometimes longing also keeps you alive.
And ma'am, if the moral of the book can be conveyed in one sentence, what it would be?
Saudade, in one sentence, there would be... Okay, one sentence, right? Not one word. Wonderful, thank you. then it will be love is limitless. It can happen anyways. I would like to add another sentence. Love is a teacher. It teaches you to be more acceptant. You begin to accept, people the way they are. So that's it.
And would you like to quote some of the poems that you have written?
Oh my! See, those are very personal collections, and this is a book. Anyway, I can read. I would just read one poem for all of you. I have not published it, but I think I can read it out for you. I want to write a love. I want to write a love poem for you. I have been meaning to write it for a long time. To tell you about the songs that I sing for you in my silence. The words are insufficient, I think, to describe the note that Tabriz strums in the lute. I have been meaning to tell you stories the gulls whisper in their skein flight, the tales of inappropriate loves from far-off lands where lovers curse love in their sighs. I have been meaning to write a long love letter where we'll celebrate us without commas, dashes and periods, to string together moments scattered across time. I've been meaning to write you a love poem and post it in the spring wind.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, that was a wonderful session with you. I hope that you and your book, your recent publication, reached the zenith of your success. And we have gotten wonderful insight of your work. We from the entire team of HITian Inside, thank you for coming to this session.
Thank you so much for arranging this beautiful book reading session and along with this interview. I thoroughly loved it, enjoyed it. Thank you so much once again, all of you. Thank you.